Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. Hannah and I have just finished watching the entire 1989 Legend of Zelda cartoon, and now we're ready to discuss. No housekeeping for this episode. I just hope you were able to enter our giveaway, which will be closing on December 22nd. Make sure to leave us a positive rating on whatever app you're listening to this on, and let's dive into the wild, totally canon Zelda universe. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. My name's Christian, and joining me as always is the Game Girl Advance SP herself.
Howdy, partner. It's December. Woo!
Big woo in the chat. I did another one of those nights out in the backyard where it was ice cold, and we watched Christmas with the Cranks. Are you familiar?
Yes, I just watched that last night, literally.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I love that movie. None of the people I watched it with have ever seen it, which was weird, and they weren't laughing as hard as they should have been, so I was a little offended.
Oh, no. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
I love National Lampoon Christmas Vacation.
That's a classic. That's great.
What about you?
I like Elf, personally.
Oh,
yeah. I don't really like Will Ferrell, a lot of his comedy, but I don't know. Something about Elf is just timeless. It's a classic.
I agree. I love The Grinch. I love all the classics. I love all three Grinches. Yeah.
Me too. They're all fantastic. Every single one.
You know, I was rewatching Jingle All the Way. Have you seen that one? With Schwarzenegger?
No.
That one, he's like really not a great actor. It's really funny, but yeah, that movie was okay. It's all right.
No, I haven't seen that one and probably won't.
What else? So you're getting ready to travel. It seems like you do that every month. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to Colorado. We're doing a white Christmas again this year, which is exciting. Obviously, I'm from Florida, and we don't have those. The only white we see is white sand, so it's going to be nice and cold, and I'm so looking forward to it.
No more Meli Kaliki Maka.
That was fun, too. Don't get me wrong. But yes, Colorado this year. My family's coming up. My brother's going to be there. I'm going to spend time with my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. It's going to be a great time.
So nice to have a big family. I will be with my mother and my cousin because that's about it for my family.
Are you guys ham people on Christmas or you get turkey again?
I don't even think we're going to cook because that's how small of an event it is.
Nice.
As long as we're together, though.
Oh.
Yep, all
nice.
that sappy stuff. I love Christmas. I am, I think we talked about it last month, but I'm here for 2 straight months of Christmas if people want to start on November 1st. I love it. I got my Christmas tree up. I guess you can't see it behind me.
Oh, bummer.
My little tiny tree for the game room.
Cute. With gaming ornaments, I hope?
I do have 1 or 2, yeah.
Nice.
What else have I done? I went to something, they have like a Christmas village here in Houston. I went to that last weekend. It was just like a small little, you can like stroll through this park and it's all lit up, and they had like a little house tour. It was actually put on through the Museum of Fine Arts of Houston. It was chill. It wasn't anything extravagant, but you know, I got my $15 worth or whatever.
Nice. Did you have hot chocolate with marshmallows?
No, dude, I couldn't even wear my flannel. I had to take my flannel off because it was so hot out.
Oh, no.
It's so bad.
No. It's so inconsistent. It's been hot here, like super hot, and then it'll get like really, really, really cold, and then it'll get super hot again. I hate it here. Can we just pick a lane?
Yeah, it was finally cold last night for the movie out in the backyard, which was great. But I agree, man.
We're still rocking 80s, 70s, and 80s down here.
Okay, let's talk about Zelda.
Yay! It's my favorite talking point.
We're going to talk about the 1989 Legend of Zelda cartoon. I guess that would make it 35 years old. Was that math right? Holy crap.
Whoa. Yeah, that's right. Youch. That makes sense.
I didn't hate it, to tell you the truth. Did you hate it?
No, I didn't hate it. And Well, I mean, I have problems with it, but like, I would have turned that on and watched that as a kid, you know?
That's exactly what I thought as well. Um, let's talk about where did you watch it, Hannah? What streaming
So
service?
I watched it. I was gonna watch it on Amazon Prime because it's available there, and I wasn't logged into my dad's Prime, so I was like, okay, can't watch it there. And I was like, okay, maybe watch it on YouTube. Couldn't do that, and I watched it on Tubi, of all the places, the free platform Tubi. I watched it on that, commercial free. It was awesome.
Tubi's cool. Wait, commercial free.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I
Yeah,
I use Tubi occasionally. Usually the stuff I want to watch is available somewhere else, but Tubi has ads anytime I'm using it. That's interesting.
dude. Nobody cares about this show, man. No ads. I was like, this is awesome, and I could skip around wherever I wanted to and not get punished by an ad. It was chef's kiss.
Well, I specifically did watch like 2 episodes on Tubi and I had ads. So I don't know what you got going on over there in Florida.
Well, dude, I got special things down here, I guess. No ads, I swear.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up is this. I looked it up. This DVD is like $16. You can buy it brand new for the entire series. Like if you wanted to own this and watch
Oh,
it that way, it's just available super cheap.
wow. I didn't even look it up, but I figured it would be expensive.
Right.
But I guess really nobody cares about it.
It skipped VHS and went straight to DVD like 20 years after the show came out. Like it was like 2005 when they were putting these DVDs out.
Wow. Oh my god. Who wanted that?
So yeah, somebody was trying to get a little bit of profit off of. They were probably like right around the time Twilight Princess was coming out, and they were like, "Hey guys, check out this totally new Zelda
Oh.
show,"
Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
and you couldn't even watch it on your Wii.
Oh.
um, so let's, I guess, quickly talk about our experience with other video game adaptations. Why don't you go?
So I don't think I've watched many animated ones. I think I watched one episode of like Kirby Right Back at Ya. Pokemon, of course. I watched the heck out of that one. Um, the ones I want to watch though are Cyberpunk. That one seems really cool. The ones that I watched though are obviously like The Last of Us, Fallout. I watched the first episode of Halo and I didn't like it. Last of Us and Fallout are fantastic. Me and my dad tried to watch the Twisted Metal one, with Anthony Mackie. That one was a little silly. Um, I think that's pretty much it for me though. But they're so hit or miss. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Some of them are fantastic and are like one of my favorite shows of all time. The other ones are just like, this is so stupid and obviously just a cash grab. It's dumb.
Yeah, so we're specifically talking about shows here. I know we've seen the Mario movie and probably some other movies. I watched, we're going to talk about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show a bit in this episode. I've seen bits and pieces of that show a few like months ago. So, like sometime this year, I actually was doing a little watch party on YouTube for the Donkey Kong Country show. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Is it good?
It's not good. It's just
Oh.
really the animation's horrible, and I mean, I would have watched it as a kid for sure, but it's
Right.
funny. Like now in 2024, it's just funny to watch. I've seen pieces of the 90s Sonic shows. I've watched all of Sonic X. I did that when I was in college. I was a big fan of that show. It was pretty good. And then like on the more modern side, I've definitely seen Fallout. I've seen Halo. I've watched the Netflix has some really good ones. Like you mentioned Edge Runners. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen Arcane, but I have watched all of Castlevania. I love that show. That's actually what got me into the games. I know I've mentioned that before.
Yep.
I've seen a little bit of Cuphead. That one wasn't. I don't know. That one wasn't for me. I wasn't a big fan of Cuphead, but the animation's great. Um, so like, there's this studio that I think it's the same studio that made Castlevania. They're also doing like a Tomb Raider show right now. I want to watch that. That
Oh.
looks really good. Um, that's all I got for now. There's probably a few more I'm missing. Oh, The Last of Us, excellent show.
Incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So the show came out in 1989. I'm going to set the stage a little bit. So at this point, there are two Zelda games out, both on NES. You got Zelda and Zelda 2. There was a Zelda board game from Milton Bradley that released in 1988. And
Oh, didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. It's obviously quite pricey right now, but that's pretty neat.
Of course.
Um, and then right around the launch of the show, they also had a Zelda Game & Watch come out. So that was pretty much it as far as like what the creators had when they were making this show. You know, they had the two games, and you know, you don't even need to include the Game & Watch and the board game. Those don't really help you
Right.
make your cartoon, but
Right.
these two games, as everyone should know, hardly have any dialogue, and the main character doesn't even speak. So this sounds like it would be
Right.
more difficult, but it actually gave the creators more room to be creative. And I figured I'd also mention this. This is an American show. It definitely wasn't airing in Japan. So they were targeting this show at, you know, the average 10-year-old who plays Nintendo games living in America.
Which is a little crazy. Consider the content, but
It was probably out in Europe too, but I don't know that for sure.
possibly.
So Hannah found a really great Polygon article. It's got an interview with people who wrote and produced the show, and also with the Link and Zelda voice actors. So that was really good, and helped a lot with the research for this episode. Essentially, this show came on every Friday while the Super Mario Bros. Super Show was airing. So this show aired from September to December in 1989, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. So Monday through Thursday. Okay, well, I guess to explain the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, you haven't seen it, right?
No, I have no idea what it is.
It's essentially got a little bit of live action at the beginning and end of the show, and in the middle you actually watch the 15-minute cartoon. And the Monday through Thursday cartoon was the Mario show, and then on Friday they would replace that with Zelda, which is really funny when you're watching on Amazon Prime because you still get the Super Mario Brothers Super Show live action dance
Credits.
and song before and after. Which is just funny. I think I could sing that whole song now.
Yeah, and this dude dancing like how old people dance where they can't twist their hips because they're hurt. They're like, yay, just move their shoulders. Mwah.
So yeah, Zelda was more of an add-on here, and they only got 13 episodes, whereas the Mario show had like 52 or 53 or 54 something like that. So they shared the same budget. The Zelda show was literally just an add-on to the Mario show. It shared the same budget, and because of that, when the Mario show was canceled, so was Zelda. So Bob Forward was the writer and story editor for Zelda, one of them, and he mentioned that he hadn't played video games at the time, and thus like hadn't played Zelda, so he wasn't knowledgeable on the property at all. He was provided with a VHS tape playthrough of the game. Can you imagine, like, the camera must have been pointed at the CRT recording this.
Yeah. Huh.
Unless,
that's
like,
interesting.
unless there was a way to record it on tape with your VCR. I don't know. Either way, that's pretty freaking funny.
How exciting, though. Watch somebody else play it.
I know, it's like, it's streaming before streaming.
Yeah, internal streaming.
This is a crazy random fact that Bob mentioned in his interview, but the woman, the girl that was playing through Zelda on this VHS tape was a young Tanya Roberts, and then she would go on to become a Charlie's Angel actress. Did you read that?
I did read that. It's like, oh my god. How did she how did she do it?
She was the first live streamer.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. That's really funny though.
No, I know, but good for her. Cool, man.
John Groost, director of the show, mentioned Nintendo wanted the show to be based on Zelda 2, which was the upcoming game at the time, like during development, because it's obviously great marketing. However, the game wasn't out yet in America at the time, so they gave him a Japanese Famicom copy to play. He wasn't a gamer either, but he played through it several times to prep for the show. The relationship between Zelda and Link was evidently modeled after the 80s show Moonlighting. I've obviously never seen that. Hannah, any experience?
Nope.
It was popular at the time that this show was being developed. The origin of Excuse Me, Princess was inspired by the relationship between the main characters in Moonlighting and also a comedy routine from Steve Martin. If you aren't familiar with that phrase, we will talk about it.
Definitely.
Nintendo told the creators that they didn't want them coming up with any new characters or backstories, so they just made do with what they were given. You don't see a lot of sword fighting in the show, and it's because you have to abide by the TV network standards, so characters literally couldn't just die. They had to do that thing where, they used magic in the show and people would disintegrate into thin air or whatever, but they couldn't actually die.
Right.
So Link's sword shoots magic bullets just like in the games when you have full health, and that helped because it didn't involve Link stabbing moblins through the chest. This was a challenge, though. Right. This was a challenge for them because Nintendo, on one hand, wants Link to do exactly what he does in the game, and then, which is kill monsters, but the network won't allow them to kill, so they had to find that fine line in the middle. Bob Forward specifically mentioned he wished he could have gotten more time to work on the show. Not more time, but he wished the show could have gone on longer. All the creators in this interview look back on the whole situation fondly. They had a great time with it. And it sounded like it was just a really chill environment, period, because everyone was so focused on the Mario show that they didn't have people breathing down their neck. They had a really easy deadlines to meet for getting the show out. It was 2 scripts a week, I think is what he said. It wasn't a big deal. So let's talk about the cast a little bit. Jonathan Potts, the voice actor of Link, his big role before this show was a cartoon from 1987 called Beverly Hill Teens. You ever heard of that one?
Nope.
I have never heard of this, and I feel like I am pretty well versed in cartoons, but I've never heard of Beverly Hill Teens. He plays a guy named Troy for the whole show. And this cartoon got 65 episodes, so it was kind of a big deal for the 1 year that it aired.
1 year? 65 episodes?
I was shook. It was 65 episodes across 3 months. They just crammed it all in. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
John Gruss, the director, I didn't find any major roles of his before Zelda. He was associate producer on a Pinocchio movie from 1987. But he did go on to produce the 3 different Mario shows. So they had the Super Mario Brothers Super Show with the Super Mario Brothers Show playing alongside Zelda, but then they would go on to do Super Mario Brothers 3 and then Super Mario World. So that's what I mean when I say the 3 Mario shows.
Gotcha.
He also went on to produce Captain N, which we might have to do an episode on Captain N sometime, but it's basically it's some kind of Nintendo block for cartoons where they had a bunch of different licenses featured in this cartoon. I don't even know a lot about it.
Well, I think this is the episode where there was a crossover with The Legend of Zelda, right? I don't know if you saw that in your research.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Some sort of crossover. I looked for the episodes, but I couldn't find them.
Oh, that's neat. He went on to produce that. He produced G.I. Joe, Sonic the Hedgehog, and directed a whole bunch of My Little Pony shows and movies.
Aww.
The natural progression.
Right.
Phil Harnage, writer for the Zelda show. A couple things he did before Zelda. He worked on He-Man and Masters of the Universe, and he was head writer on Hello Kitty's Furry Tale Theater, a 1987 animated series that I've never heard of.
Wow. Hello Kitty's, she's been around, man.
For real. And after Zelda, he worked on The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Underground. He worked on the other Mario shows and Captain Planet. He also became lead writer on the Double Dragon animated series, and I guess he was the lead writer on Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, which came out in 1999.
Nope.
Yeah, I know. He's done a ton of work and still does, but those are some of the big names. Len Carlson, voice of Ganon. This guy was 22 years prior. He was the Green Goblin in the original Spider-Man animated series.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that shrill voice.
Yes. He sounds like a lizard. Oh my god, that makes sense.
In 1992's X-Men, the animated series, he voiced Senator Robert Kelly. That's not like a major role, but I have watched that whole show, and I know that that show is like very on people's radar right now because of the reboot that Disney Plus did. Anyways, Senator Robert Kelly, he was kind of a big character in that show, and funny enough, he played Crusher Kong in the DK Country animated series.
Oh, well, look at that. He's all over it.
Cynthia Preston, the voice actress for Zelda. She's been in a lot of movies and shows as a small role, but nothing that really stood out to me before or after playing the one and only Princess Zelda. And then that guy Bob Forward we talked about, he was a writer. He was a writer on several shows in the mid-'80s, but the big one was definitely He-Man. And he would go on to work on Wildcats, X-Men Evolution, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Captain Planet, and so much more. And that's what I got.
Interesting. So I guess a lot of them didn't really do much. Their most famous thing is the Zelda series.
A lot of them did. I don't know. I think that the only reason that the Zelda thing is famous is because of that's the topic of the podcast today. They did stuff that I've personally never heard of, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of them were working, like all these producers, writers, directors, they seemed to continue to work with the studio, DIC, the network, I suppose is the right term. And so like I'm pretty sure He-Man and the Super Mario shows, the Sonic shows, I'm pretty sure they all came out of that same studio or that same network, and I could be wrong about that, but I think that's why a lot of these guys got to work on the same projects after they finished working on Zelda.
Yeah, well, it's like Cartoon Network. How all those guys are still kind of working in the same loop there.
Exactly.
Fun. He-Man's a classic too. I don't ever think I've sat down and watched an episode, but I know so many of like the memes and stuff from it. It's like, oh, it's He-Man. It's He-Man.
I want to sit down and watch He-Man. I remember like watching a little bit as a kid, like probably on Boomerang. But yeah, like they have that new one once again on Netflix. Like it looks really good, but I feel like I need to watch the original material before I sit down and watch this newfangled He-Man.
Right. All right. Canonicity time?
Let's do it.
Go for it. All right. So, in short, no, of course, this series is not canon. And if you try to fight or argue with anyone about the Zelda timeline, you will be crushed. I looked to see if there was, like, anybody out there who was like, yeah, it totally could be. I could not find a one. Not a Reddit, not a freaking forum, anywhere. They're like, no, this is garbage. Absolutely not. But there are a lot of, like, kind of connections and nods, obviously, to the games. So at some point, like, the first minute of the cartoon is, like, introducing you to the story that, like, you never see. So it's like, oh, there was like a battle and Ganon stole the Triforce of Power, blah, 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 blah. So that part of the story does kind of happen in the first NES game, so I guess it's kind of connected. But anyway, I'll give you a little breakdown of the story. So the story, given mostly in the manual of the NES games, because that's just how it was a little bit at the time, is that an army led by Ganon, of course, and his evil forces attacked Hyrule and stole the Triforce of Power, which is the part of the story that's in the first minute of the show. Yeah. But then the rest of the story is Zelda splits the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments, scatters it across Hyrule, right? And you have to go find them, blah, 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 blah. And that's where kind of Link's adventure begins, except for it introduces you to Impa, of course, which is Zelda's, like, think they called her a nursemaid or something in the manual, but it's like her very close, badass old companion. And so she stumbles upon Link, and then Link becomes the courageous gentleman that she was looking for, and blah, blah, blah. His adventure begins. Impa is not in the show at all.
Yeah.
Not even anything that like resembles her. If anything, Sprite kind of took over that role. So if you really want to be, a jerk about it, you could say that the Ganon takes the Triforce of Power in the show. Then the first game happens, and then Zelda 2 happens. I suppose you could say that, but I don't think anyone's going to argue that. So if anything, it's like a completely different side story. Like what went wrong in the Kingdom of Hyrule to make Link and Zelda this way. Anyway, so I wrote a bunch of connections to the games if you want me to read that now.
I would love to hear it.
Okay. So obviously the TV show follows some of the same characters from the game, Link, Zelda, and Ganon, of course. There's also a king who does appear in some of the games, but this one is like a complete doofus, and he will continue appearances in the Valiant comics and the CDI games.
Wow.
But his character is not canon. He just kind of shows up as a big old doof. There are only 2 Triforce pieces in this TV show, which is the same with the game. The first game on the NES. The Triforce of Courage wasn't introduced until Zelda 2. So maybe had they had a second season, they would have introduced that.
Oh, interesting. But they were told to base the game off of Zelda 2. That's funny.
Right. Which is weird that you said that, because like none of this is like that at all. If anything, it's loosely based on the first one, if that.
Interesting.
Also, some of the same enemies appear. There's the Dark Nuts, which are like the armored guys. The Dodongos, which are the Triceratop-looking reptilian dudes. The Gibdos, the mummy things. The Gleeoks, which I thought was cool. The 3-headed dragons, which recently made a reappearance in Tears of the Kingdom. That was neat. Goma, which is the spider-looking boss with the giant eye. Lionels, the horse-lion hybrid thingies. And then, of course, like your Moblins, your Octoroks, and then Stalfos. And then the Zora, but like the Zora from the early games, which is like the weird, scary, fishy ones, not like the nice ones that we know now.
Yeah.
In the Doppelganger episode, which will come up a bunch of times, there's a scene where Link is practicing with his sword, and he's whistling the ground theme from Super Mario Bros., which I thought was super cool. I don't know if you caught that.
No.
Mm-hmm. He's practicing with a sword, and you can hear him, you can see his shadow, and then you can hear him whistle, and then it cuts to him, like, practicing with his sword. Mm-hmm. I was like, I got that. Nod. As far as that, nods to the other games. Sprite, which is, like, the little fairy that kind of hangs around the castle and helps both Link and Zelda. New to the series, she also shows up, I think, in the CDI games, in the Valiant comics. But I assumed that it was, like, a nod to, like, the sprites and the NES and Super Nintendo games, like, the actual character models. They're called sprites. So I thought that was a cool nod to them. And it's also, like, think of a sprite as, like, a mix between Navi, which shows up 10 years later in Ocarina of Time, and, like, Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. Like, she totally has a thing for Link and is, like, also super annoying like Navi. But it is kind of cool that she predates Navi, which is Link's companion in Ocarina of Time, by 10 years.
That is cool. I just had to look up the CDI release date. Those games came out in 1993 and 1996. It is crazy that they were still carrying over 4 and 7 years later some of the concepts from the show.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't look it up, and I should have, but maybe we'll do an episode on that. Did it have, like, the same creators or, like, writers, or, like, did they license that out, or, like, I don't know how that works.
Interesting, yeah.
Or same artists? I don't know. So this is also funny. The opening, besides, like, the minute that I said about, like, the random backstory that you never see, of the first episode of the game is Link waking up and getting out of bed, which is, like, a common theme throughout the entire Legend of Zelda series. I don't know if they knew that, considering there was only 2 games before this, but, like, that is a big thing. Like, every game opens with him waking up.
Clearly this is where they got it from.
Yeah, right, of course. Another thing is, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Link's sword shoots out lasers, which does happen in some of the games if he's at full power, at full health. Obviously, they did this because they couldn't have him stabbing through all these monsters and everything, which I thought was interesting. But it does happen in the game, so it's not like it's not canon.
Yeah.
They also explained how Link's like little pouch satchel thing works. So in the games, you just kind of, put it in there, forget about it. Obviously, he's not really holding it, but like in the game, they have everything like shrink down to fit inside the satchel, which I thought was really fun.
In the show, you mean? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in the show. And then the music for both getting items and using items is the same one from the game. So it sounds kind of weird because like you have this like actual like orchestral music in the background, and then you hear like bing 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 bong bing 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 like video game sounds, which is really kind of strange, but I guess it fits in this kind of context.
It is super out of place, but because it is based on the video game, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I like that too. You notice it immediately. You're like, something about that's not quite right. Again, when enemies are hit, they just kind of like disappear like they do in video games. Like you don't see their dead, lifeless body fall to the ground. They just kind of like poof away, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
The enemies appear in what's called the Jar of Evil after they've been zapped. So after Link zaps them, they kind of go into this, like, I don't know, snow globe-esque looking jar thing, giant thing, which kind of explains why the enemies respawn. Like, they don't die, they just get sent to this Jar of Evil, and then they, like, resurrect a little bit after some time,
Yeah, it's really silly.
I thought it was really funny. In one of the episodes, the Triforce of Wisdom gets broken into 3 shards after it is hit by a bomb, which does happen. In the later game, it's instead split up into 8 pieces instead of 3, but of course, that's still, I think, a nod of some sort. And then I don't know if it splits up into 3 because there's 3 pieces of the Triforce. I don't know. I'm sure there's something there. Another thing is Link throws bombs at walls to reveal secret paths, which I thought was dead set on stuff like that. And then there's one episode, I can't remember what it was called, but you have to find the character called the Witch of Walls. And it shows you this really, really long wall, and you could see the obvious where the witch is supposed to be, but it's like, there's a suspicious part in that wall. I wonder if I walk up to that if something will happen. It's like very typical, this is something you need to do with this wall over here. Wink, wink, nod, nod that you see in all games. Again, in the episode Doppelganger, an evil Dark Zelda appears out of a magic mirror and switches place with the real Zelda, which could be a nod to the fact that Dark Link is the enemy of Zelda 2, so Link and Dark Link, kind of something sort of similar like that. Also, just a fun little thing that I'd read in the Polygon article is that mirror is actually based off of a similar mirror in Dungeons & Dragons, and that was just so cool. So fun to me.
That woman that wrote that that episode was just Bob Forward's sister. Like, he was just, like, she was 16, and she was just a Dungeons & Dragons fan, and she got to write an episode or 2 of the show just because she was Bob's sister, which was really neat.
That's awesome. Nerds, man. We have good stories. Anyway, and then this is, like, I don't know if you want to consider it a future nod or, like, something that was really cool. So in Breath of the Wild, they obviously encourage you to, like, use your environment and everything, burn the forest down to get the enemies out, blah, blah, blah. But one of the ways to beat Ganon and his goons in one of the episodes was to throw bees at them and, like, use, like, the wildlife in your environment. And that's something that you do in Breath of the Wild, which obviously they didn't get it from that, but it's still kind of a cool little thing that happens.
True.
And then as far as Nintendo involvement, I don't know if you have any nods that you want to mention.
I did write some. Let me see if you didn't cover them all. I mean, you mentioned all the enemies that were in there. That's okay. I'll get to it later if I have any more.
Okay. As far as Nintendo's involvement, I could not find any specific thing about, like, Nintendo, like, offered to pay for this or blah, 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 or they, like, did the production or whatever. As far as I know, they really didn't have any involvement at all, which you said in the article that it actually gave them a lot more room to, like, do whatever they wanted to. But the first article that I read actually blamed this, like, the non-sword fighting and the, like, the non-violence or whatever on Nintendo being as family friendly as they were. But back in the day, Nintendo was not. that didn't occur until like honestly like the 2000s, where they were like super restrictive on like what could go on the Wii. They did not care. I mean, all the games on the NES and the Super Nintendo, I mean, some of those are violent and bloody and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So it was definitely a US network thing, not a Nintendo thing.
I do think it was probably a US network thing, but they definitely were restrictive about like what you could put on the NES. I mean, that was a thing. They made sure that every single cartridge that you put out on their console went through them. Someone from Nintendo played it and made sure it wasn't filled with freaking sex and gore and stuff.
Okay, yeah. Of course.
I mean, for real.
Of course that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe that, but it wasn't they didn't do that weird like takedown of things until later. Where they got super super family friendly. Apparently, from what I read, Nintendo obviously didn't really care too much about the show. They honestly just wanted like people to look at their new property. Like, I don't know how successful the Mario show was, but if anything, they were just like, yeah, we got this new series coming out. Why don't we just tack something onto that and just fit it into this already pre-done budget? So yeah, I did read that they gave them like a Bible, which I guess is just kind of like documents that say this is like Link good, Zelda good, Ganon bad kind of deal. Like you had to follow these specific things, but anything that fit in between that was fine.
It was unclear to me if Nintendo gave them that.
I thought that they did, and then the show writers like wrote their own Bible that was going to be passed down.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, this is what happens. That is how I read it, but I could be wrong. Another interesting fact, though, is they pitched that Zelda had pants, and Nintendo loved it. That's, like, the only thing that I saw that Nintendo was like, yes, that's great. Yeah. Give Zelda pants. It's awesome. But, yeah, that was pretty much it. I don't know if you can find those kind of documents unless you, like, actually interview the people that worked on the show, but as far as I know, Nintendo was like, you know what? You do you.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know where that Bible is now. That would be quite the collector piece.
Yeah, it would. If it still exists.
Right.
Could be in a dump somewhere, rotting for 30 years.
Let's get into the show a little bit. Let's talk about the plot. And you are welcome to jump in at any point. But this show is... We weren't even sure when we were just talking about it a couple days ago. We weren't sure if this was going to be the situation where every episode continues from the previous, or if it's just a random one-off every time. It is certainly a random one-off every episode. Everything is self-contained into one 15-minute segment, and whatever happened in the previous episode doesn't matter. We're on the next episode. You know, typical cartoon stuff. The only information you get is in the beginning, like you mentioned. The show really expects you... I feel like the show really expects you to have played one of the games by this point. Because no one is jumping into this show without having played a game and, like, understanding what's going on. But at the same time, it's so not complex that you could jump in and have no knowledge and just watch 15 minutes and be fine. But what we know from the introduction alone, Zelda has the Triforce of Wisdom in her castle. Ganon is an evil wizard who has the Triforce of Power. Whoever gets both Triforces, and I quote, will rule the land forever.
Right.
We have no idea how or why, that's just how it is. Each episode has Ganon attempting to take the Triforce of Wisdom or kidnap Zelda, or sometimes Zelda decides she and Link are going to set out to acquire the Triforce of Power. And I wrote there's no third Triforce in this universe. I didn't realize that there were only two. You said the third one came in Zelda 2?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else to add to the plot?
No. That's literally it. Oh, and that Link just really wants a kiss from the princess. That's basically his motivation throughout the entire thing.
I think 51% of this show's plot is defending off Ganon, and 49% is Link trying to get a smooch from the princess.
Yes. That's for real it.
Have you seen the Smurfs?
No.
All right, that was an unexpected response. But anyways, I just feel like this show is just like watching an episode of the Smurfs. Every episode, Gargamel plots to like come into the village, destroy the Smurfs, the fails, and then the heroes win, and that's it. Ganon is Gargamel, and it's literally so. I mean, it even looks like the Smurfs to me, the animation and everything, the '80s show. I even checked to see if it was the same studio that did the animation, but I don't think it was. You got your main characters: Link, Zelda, Sprite, Ganon, Zelda's father, and the Triforce of Wisdom is also a character I would call a main character in this show.
Yeah, it talks.
I think we're ready to talk about thoughts and stuff. It is absolutely hilarious that the Triforce talks to me.
And yeah, it's like an all-knowing being, which I guess makes sense, but like so out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's a I don't even know. It's not a stone, it's not like a piece of metal, it's like an entity. So strange. And then at one point, and it's in several episodes, they tie the Triforce of Wisdom on a string like a balloon and tote it around like it's gonna go flying away.
It is the funniest crap. It looks like it's on a walk, like it's on a leash or something. Or yeah, a balloon is also a good analogy.
Like it's gonna fly away from them. I don't understand. But then they can also carry it, and it just makes no sense.
Essentially, the Triforce sits in the castle and is just always there to give advice or whatever Zelda or Link needs. But
right.
Yeah, there's a few times where they have to put it on a chain, a magic chain that makes this thing float, and they take it with them to go on this adventure or whatever. It's so funny.
And then it's like they're riding on horseback and they just tie it to the horse. Oh my god.
Yeah, there were no bounds on this show. They were just free to do whatever they wanted. I guess to kind of set the stage for like how the show runs, like we start off like you said, he wakes up. Zelda is just owner of this castle, and like Link lives there. We don't know why he lives there. We don't know like what has caused this, but Zelda is like his boss. She pretty much tells him like, hey, this is what you're doing today, you know, make sure you clock in and clock out at this time. Like that was a joke, that doesn't actually happen, but like she's like hey, like there's a couple episodes, more than one, where she's like, get up, we need to do chores today, I need you to dust the whole castle from top to bottom. It's like, what is this show, like what is the relationship here? It's very unclear.
Yeah, I don't know if his main goal is just to guard the Triforce piece or what, but he's like her lackey. It's awesome.
I think Zelda is really cool in this show. I'm glad that they didn't make her a damsel in distress. Like she is probably like Link is not rescuing her completely. Like she is doing a lot of the fighting, and they gave her pants because they didn't want her to be a damsel in distress. They gave her pants because she's literally out there fighting and killing moblins and stuff. Like she's killing it, which I think is. Go ahead.
She said she's got a magic bow and arrow. You know, she's not completely helpless.
No.
But the one thing that I hated about her character was her scream, and not that it was a bad scream; it's a fine scream. But it was like the same scream over and over again. Like, you know how voice actors, you know, they can scream different? No, they just clipped this one scream and they used it for everything. And it was just like the same grating scream every single time. It bothered me so much. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not. That's really funny.
It's the same scream. And she would do it multiple times in an episode, like back to back to back to back. And I was like, no, come on, give me something else.
How'd you feel about the animation?
I don't have a lot of experience watching like shows from the 80s and early 90s, but I thought it was fine. It was really not detailed, but I don't know if cartoons back then were. It looked like more, not hand-drawn, but more like, I don't know, paper and pencil versus like smooth animations that I grew up watching.
I don't really have I'm not going to pretend to be some expert, but I thought the animation was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Didn't have issues.
I thought it was good.
if I you mentioned this, if I were a kid growing up in the late '80s playing NES and Game Boy and loving Mario, Zelda, Metroid, all that stuff, like I'd have been all over this. This show would have absolutely entertained me before school or whatever.
My God, yeah. Well, at least I know it didn't really expand upon the story a lot at all. But like Link is completely silent, obviously, in the NES. Well, I mean, honestly, for all the games, pretty much. But so it was interesting to see like him talk or like actually interact in that kind of way, even though what he was saying was just god awfully bad.
Yeah.
You know, had I been able to watch something, it made him feel like more alive.
Yeah, for sure. But the route that they went with him was not at all like even just having the two games and the Milton Bradley board game. I don't think that I ever would have envisioned him being this like lazy and just like horny teenager, right? Like I never would have got that from like he's out there doing work, you know? He's saving people, and I don't know, he doesn't seem lazy to me. But they've turned him into this guy that is your typical teenager that doesn't want to get out of bed, doesn't want to do his chores, and just like barely scraping by through life. And he's all brawn, no brain almost.
Right.
And he just wants to kiss Zelda. And it's an interesting path.
Yeah, that's his motivation for everything. They like clipped his wings. Like Link, in my opinion, is like well, I mean, besides when he's like a child, but he's like kind of badass. Like he could do anything, and he, you know, is always willing to put himself in front of the princess or like save other people or like be like this like valiant, you know, moral compass as a guy. And then this Link just sucks so bad. He's lazy. He just seems more like lucky versus like smart or like strategical or tactical. I mean, he does do like cool flips and like acrobatics and stuff, but like it's just takes the wind out of your sails. Sucks.
He's just a little too lazy for comfort. I loved when they would put music in that was like directly from the game. I thought that was so cool.
Yep. That was really fun. Like Ganon's theme would play in the underworld, or like anytime anything happened, like the fun main Zelda song would play. So that was exciting.
I thought the way Ganon looked was pretty cool. I mean, like his face and everything was really gross and creepy, but in a good way. Like that's like he is a freaking hog in the game, and I think that they made him look pretty good. I think they adapted him well.
See, yeah, I think the opposite. In my mind, Ganon is like bigger, like buffer, like scarier. If I closed my eyes and you asked me to tell you what that character looked like, I would have said a lizard or like something, I don't like, you know, like tiny and thin and just like grotesque looking. But like Ganon he's big, you know, he's a buff dude. He's purple, I think. I don't think I would have gone with yellow, but like his over thing is like pinky, kind of purpley. I don't know. And his voice, it just didn't hit for me, which makes sense that he's the Green Goblin, though. That is, like, exactly what I was hearing. I don't know. It's just something about him. And in my opinion, he would have, like, a deeper voice, a scarier voice. But maybe that would have tested well back in the 80s. I don't know.
I think that, yeah, I agree with a lot of that. He's definitely not... He's comedic almost, you know? I mean, he's not dark. He's not super scary.
No.
Yeah, they could have gone a different route with the voice actor for sure.
And he was not a threat at all. Like in no instance, in no episode did I think, "Oh my god, Ganon's going to win. The world's going to be over." No. Absolutely not. He's like an ant that crawls up on your leg and you flick off. That's what he is.
We talked about Ganon's voice. How do you feel about Link's voice?
Honestly, the voice was fine. It was just what he was saying was bad, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. The script. I mean, I think that, like, looking at Link, I don't think the voice matched his face, which is a weird thing to say for a cartoon, but that's how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. And then they gave him brown hair, which is a no-no. And no depiction of Link ever does he have that dark brown hair.
Literally, one of the thumbnails that you were uploading had him with brown hair. Like, I'm pretty sure in Zelda 2 or something he has brown hair.
It's more like a dark blonde, not brown. That's brown.
Okay. Yeah, he definitely looks off.
Not it.
Yeah, I think the actors themselves did fine. I agree with, like, Link's script was pretty rough. I'm not a fan. How do you feel about Zelda's acting?
I thought she was fine. I thought she was great. I thought she was a definite improvement on like the very, very little that we actually saw of her in the games. I mean, you don't see her for more than, I don't know, 3 minutes unless you sit there and look at her on screen before you click the A button. So that was nice. I think her voice acting was fine except for the scream that they used over and over again, which is no fault, obviously, of the voice actress herself. That was fine.
Yeah.
But I thought she was good.
Thought she was good too. So you said we do kind of see the king in the show or in the games a little bit. Is it the same name, or was this like a different guy? No,
it's a completely different guy.
He was goofy and he was like he was stupid, like straight up. He was just stupid.
Yeah, his main motivation was to help Link kiss Zelda, of course, and to build a water park for his kingdom. Okay? Water park.
I had to write this down because I didn't want to forget about it. There's literally an episode where it starts out with Link is about to swing across the castle on a rope, and the king catches him. He's like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing there, Link?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm about to swoop into your daughter's window so that she can kiss me." And he's like, "Oh, well, I think you should take some flowers. I think that'll help."
Flowers. Fucking what, dude? No. Ugh. Yeah, why? Was that a common theme in the 80s? I don't understand. Every episode. Can I get a kiss? Can I get a kiss? That deserves a kiss. Can I have a kiss? How about a kiss? So many times. Like
Zelda was the only adult in this show, truthfully. She was the only one that was ever in charge or just like mature in any sense.
Agreed. God.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? I feel like even though there were no cutscenes, they really did Link's personality weird. We talked about that. I never would have made him this lazy guy. I think it's weird that Link is like on house arrest. It is very strange that Zelda, like, it took a few episodes for me to understand what the relationship was. But in the final episode, like, they actually kind of, like, I was glad to get some closure in the 13th episode because they did this plot in such a way that it forced Zelda to, like, confess her love for Link. And it was like, okay, she does love him. There is some sort of relationship there that is more than just I'm your boss. Because it was pretty unclear, and I don't think they knew what they were doing each episode. They were just winging it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it. Yeah, I mean, I liked it at the end, but then I guess we should maybe talk about the ending. It just kind of like boom, just kind of ends. Like, it seems like they wanted to do more. Obviously, the creators did, but like, nothing was really wrapped up except for that, like, Zelda kind of likes Link.
Yeah, they definitely didn't wrap anything up. There was probably some uncertainty as to whether the show was going to have another season. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to wrap up. What would they have done? Like, gotten both pieces of the Triforce?
Some sort of season finale of some sort. Like, oh my god, Ganon has both, and then boom, cut to black. You know, I don't know, or cut to the dude dancing. I don't know, something like be of actual consequence. You know?
Can you imagine, like, Ganon is like the 13th episode ends, and Ganon is he's got both. He's about to rule all the land, and then you just see, do the Mario.
And do dancing, yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or like he gets both the Triforce pieces and then he turns into Pig Ganon, or like something like that, or maybe you see the glowing Triforce piece on the back of his hand,
yeah,
and then you're like, oh my god, what does that mean? You know, literally anything.
Yeah. Interesting show, to say the least. I think that, I mean, they must have had serious inspiration from that moonlighting show, and they just really wanted to force this kiss thing. There's like a ridiculous amount of he's down so bad. Like, there's episodes where he comes and like there's another woman that's, I guess, he finds attractive, and he'll kiss her too. Like, it doesn't have to just be Zelda. He'll kiss anybody.
Yeah.
They also made Sprite the fairy in love with him, which was silly.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, she wanted Link real bad. She was peeping on him in the bathtub one time. It was like, what is this show rated?
Yeah, I know, and it's for kids. It's so strange. It's like, it's some of the content was weird for it to be showing to 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds.
Certainly wouldn't happen today.
No.
There was, I don't think you mentioned this, there was this whistle from Zelda 1 that appears in episode 5, and Link uses it to call the winds and escort him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. That was cool. I don't know if that made an appearance in the earlier games, but it's certainly something like that. Certainly, obviously, musical instruments play a huge part later on in the series.
Yeah, you can fast travel to the 8 different dungeons in the first game with that.
Okay. I didn't know if it's specifically that or something else. Okay, that makes sense.
I guess I could be wrong. It could be a different tool, but that's certainly where the inspiration came from.
Right, yeah. A nod to it for sure.
I personally would love to see somehow, like, they take a character from this show and they end up being in a future game. Like, even if it's not a major appearance or something, like Sing was this woman from episode 5. She was like from a foreign land. She couldn't speak English, and she had a freaking unicorn, and it got stolen by Ganon. If they just like had like a very serious character that kind of resembled her in like a new Zelda game, and her name was Sing, man, I think that would be so cool. I would love to see that.
That would be really funny. I remember thinking, a unicorn? Okay, that's interesting. And then some random woman for who God knows where shows up. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, she was a serious person too, my God.
Yeah. The unicorn wasn't, but...
No. Mm-mm.
I don't know, any points you want to bring up?
I think that was it. I mean, it was good, it was goofy, it was weird, it had some weird things in it, but overall, I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it, and I could totally, I mean, we've said it already, I would have watched it as a kid. I honestly, I don't have a problem watching it now in 2024. It's not a great show, as far as like, if I were some kind of like reviewer reviewing the show, no, of course it's not good. Of course the plot isn't good, but like is it entertaining as someone who plays Zelda games? Is it entertaining as someone who researches Nintendo history and stuff? Like, yeah, I could put that on in the background while I'm playing my Switch or my DS or whatever. I don't recommend binging 13 episodes, but I do like...
Right.
It was enjoyable for what it was, and then reading the Polygon interview was like, oh wow, these people loved what they were doing, and it's neat. I enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah, me too. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But if they ever came out with a second series, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The funniest part has to be the Triforce on the leash. I think that is so crazy.
Oh my God. That's wild. And the fact that it talks and it's like this like omnipotent, all-knowing being, It's like, okay, that part I guess makes sense.
I guess we didn't actually
But
mention it, but the excuse me princess, like that is
ugh.
every, I don't, if anyone's ever seen Naruto, it's like how the first, like, I don't know, 200 episodes he just says believe it every freaking time. that's
Mm-mm.
that's the same thing. He's always saying, like, anytime Zelda sasses him or says something sarcastic or whatever, Link goes, well, excuse me, princess. He does it at least twice
Oh
an
my god.
episode. They never missed it.
Mm-hmm.
They never failed to include it.
No, and there was one episode, I should have written it down, where he says it like 8 times in the span of, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. And it's like, oh, please. And he would say it with different tones, of course, but it was just so bad. And I think that's one of the things, it's the most memorable part of the show because it was so bad. And so people like it, you know?
The article from Polygon made it sound like that was a phrase that was popular to say back in that era. Almost like a "that's what she said" type of phrase that we have now, right?
Mm,
It they made it
right.
sound like Steve Martin made this sketch and he did that, and a lot of people just happened to know that phrase. I don't know if someone was alive in 1987 or whatever, then please correct me, but that's what it sounded like. Um, but he doesn't miss every single episode. And so the article also said that, like, it was actually inspired, like someone from DIC, the studio or the network, was like, hey, you should include this. Like, it wasn't even something that the creators came up with. It was just like, hey, you should include this.
Every episode. And sometimes more.
Sometimes more. Yeah, it was something. I found it funny sometimes. Like, it was ridiculous, but I didn't hate it. But yeah, objectively, the show itself, not good.
Yeah, I didn't hate Excuse Me Princess until like maybe the 5th episode, and then I was like, oh no, it's gonna be in every episode, at least a couple times. I did like, though, sometimes Link would come back with some like interesting puns, and I liked those, like the weird dad jokes. I liked those a lot. Those were fun.
Yeah, they were pretty proud of that little phrase. They threw it into the intro as well. But, like, all these years I've seen that meme, and I was like, oh, that must be just, like, one time in the show, and it must be so
No.
freaking ridiculous and funny. No, it is every episode.
Yeah. It's there. It's there a lot.
I think that's all I had in my notes here.
Yeah, me too. I think we covered it all.
And I guess if you're wondering, I'll go ahead and spoil it if you haven't seen the show. He does not kiss Zelda.
Oh, man, I thought we were going to leave that.
Cliffhanger.
So they have to watch it. No, he doesn't. He kisses other girls in a weird mirror entity, but never Zelda.
So, we have a live-action Zelda that has been confirmed to be in development. I doubt they're very far along on that, but it has been confirmed. So we're going to talk about wants and thoughts surrounding that. But,
Yep.
yeah, we literally... There are animes... No, not animes. There are mangas of Zelda out there. And that's... I mean, there are no other shows that I'm aware of. There's no movies. This is the one show. And after all these years, they're finally making a live-action movie. There's
Yep.
I don't think there's any actors confirmed. I don't think much is confirmed or known about this at all. So why don't you go ahead and share some of your thoughts and wants for this movie?
So I am super torn about like what I want from this movie. I don't know if I want it to be like something that closely follows the story of a previously established game, or if I want like brand new story. Like, obviously I want Link and Zelda and like the characters I'm used to or like I'm familiar with. But, like, I don't know if we really need to see, like, a Ganon. Like, I feel like we've seen him, which I've kind of as a critique of, like, the games also, is that we've had very little enemy variation for a while. But, like, I don't know if I need to see Ganon being as, like, the big bad. I don't know. I think it would be fun to kind of expand, like, kind of what the TV show was trying to do, was expand the kind of lore of, like, the first games. Because, obviously, there's not a whole lot of story in the first and second games, and even, like, the third game, on the Super Nintendo. They're just there's so much story that could be explained there, and I think it'd be fun to follow the events of that. But then I also think it'd be fun to just get a completely new story, completely new enemies. You could even go to a new land. You don't have to be in Hyrule. You can go somewhere else. So I don't know. I think it's kind of also intermingled with my need for like a new enemy in the games too. So I'm unsure exactly of what I want to see from it. But I think they could go really in depth into, like I said, like the first game, or even do something completely different. I guess it wouldn't be really a Zelda movie. But anyway, I don't know if the lore of Skyward Sword, like there's a whole, which is the first game in the timeline, by the way, like a whole war and like battle that happens between Hylia and like the forces of darkness or whatever that we never get to see. And she picks like her hero, and I want to see like their fight, like what happens in the very, very, very beginning, the establishment of all of these rules, of the Triforce, of all these things. I think it'd be super cool to get that kind of origin story. But I don't think we will, because then that wouldn't really be like a Legend of Zelda story, because Zelda and Link wouldn't exist yet. But I don't know. I'm so torn.
That would be cool.
Or they could do maybe like a establish the first Legend of Zelda movie, and if it does well, do like the origin story, because I'm not sure if they would ever make a game with that kind of story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they would market that, but if they could do like this is what happens prior to this, like a prequel series or something like that, I don't know, I think that'd be really fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about story?
I guess I never really considered the possibility that the movie might be canon and like fill in some gaps for the games, but like you bringing that up actually would be really awesome. That would be really cool. I mean, personally, I think an anime could really thrive. I can't really fathom Nintendo even doing that. I know we're talking about a live action movie here, but like,
yeah,
I would prefer an anime, I guess, if I were given an option.
Agreed.
I can't even fathom them doing a live action movie, but here we are. It's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you feel about Link talking?
I am also torn about that. Like, I feel like it made sense. Obviously, he didn't talk back in the day, whatever. They wanted you to feel like you were him, blah, blah, whatever. But then, like, in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think they expanded upon the fact that he doesn't talk, and I think it works for that. But I'm not sure if you can go, like, cast away full non-speaking with Link in a movie, especially, like, live action. I think it would be goofy and weird. But, like, I don't know what he would say or what he would sound like. Or if maybe he's just, like, soft-spoken or, like, doesn't say a lot of things at all. I don't know. But, like, I know they made Mario talk, and Mario's talked in the past, but never, like, long, full sentences, never, like, big dialogue. And they made it work in the animated movie, but then again, that's animated and not live action. So it's, like, apples and oranges almost.
I think I do want a soft-spoken Link. I think he needs to talk. I'm pretty much on the same page with you there. What I want is a dark movie, something that is actually Zelda, something that is actually going to be dark. Like, if I could get a movie based on Majora's Mask or something, I think that's a creepy, dark, fascinating story that they could exploit. It's not going to happen. I really don't see this movie being dark. It's kind of what I gravitate towards with my like comic book movies. I've been waiting for like a Spider-Man movie that's got like Venom and Carnage. Carnage is a freaking serial killer, and he could literally make such a sick movie, Dark Knight-esque movie, and that's never gonna happen because comics are for kids, and you know what? Nintendo is also for kids, and they are gonna curate this to children. It's not gonna be rated PG-13. It's not gonna be rated R. It's gonna be something that's like a dad is going to take his 10-year-old son to go watch, or daughter, or whatever, and I think that they have decades of gamers to prove this movie to, but they also have to introduce this to the younger gamers, and so I don't think Nintendo's going to flop this. I think it's going to end up being a really good movie, but it's not going to be so dark that it's what I want, but it's also not going to be so like filled with humor that it's like a Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie. They're going to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah, all of this to say it's not going to be what I personally want, but I think it's going to end up being good.
I think it'll also be good, and I also was really wanting like a more gritty, darker kind of show. Like I feel like they're gonna go more. I don't know if you saw like the Dungeons and Dragons movie, but it was like it had some action, but it was like mostly comedy, right? You were laughing through the whole thing, and things would happen, and there would be serious moments, but nothing like super consequential. Like nobody like actually died or like had any real consequence of any kind. Or like the Minecraft movie with Jack Black in it. Like, yeah, sure, they might have some serious moments, but it's it's fun, it's laughable, it's for kids. But I want like a dark movie where like the games, like Majora's Mask, and even Breath of the Wild is incredibly dark. Like everyone says Majora's Mask is the darkest. I don't think so. Okay, freaking Ganondorf rose his army out of the ground and killed thousands of people. There's like maybe a small handful and just like fucking obliterated all of them. And I'm sorry, but that just to me is way worse than Majora's Mask. Anyway, I think something like that where like the decisions that Zelda and Link will have to make, like, oh my god, do we save this person, do we sacrifice this town? Like I want real consequences, I want real turmoil, because this is like crazy shit. It's a war. They've been going through this war for decades now, hundreds of years, I don't mean thousands of years. I want dark. It can still have humor, of course, because, I don't want anything like the Snyderverse where, like, the DC characters are, like, so serious, none of them ever smile. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I don't know. I have big hopes for it, and I don't think it's going to fill all those, but I still think it's going to be a good movie.
Sounds like we're on the same page. Is there any chance we get, like, a PG-13 Zelda dark movie? Is there any chance of that?
I want to say yes. Because I don't know, I feel like Nintendo is trying to kind of attract a bigger audience, but also they're trying to like, what is Breath of the Wild? It's E for everyone, right?
I feel like it's T. I don't know. I'll look it up real quick.
T for teen, but like the games that they're coming out with recently are kind of for a more mature audience. I wouldn't necessarily make a 5, 6, or 7-year-old play Breath of the Wild. It's got some like actual dark themes in there. I don't know. I think it's possible. But I also think they might go like the more comedy silly route and bump it down. I don't know. I mean, Link's definitely not going to say the word fuck, you know what I'm saying? So it's not going to be like that. But
it's
I don't know.
E10 plus.
Okay. So, yeah. Not T for teen. They're going to make it go down then. Rats.
Yeah, for real. I guess we'll see. I don't even have any guesses for who could be Link or yeah, I'm not even going to break into that territory unless you have some.
No, the only thing I said is a lot of people are fan casting like Tom Holland and like Anya Taylor-Joy as Zelda, and that just seems like a horrible start. Like, Tom Holland is what? He's Spider-Man. Do I want my Spider-Man to be my Link? Absolutely not. I want unknown actors and unknown actresses, like this is their breakout role. Unfamiliar faces. Like, let's see what they can do with this character. I don't want the same performances from all these same Hollywood actors that they're just shoving down our throats. Which is just honestly something that I have a problem with Hollywood in general. But, like, I want new people to be able to, like, bring this to life. Like, honestly, the series that are kind of similar to this, and I know this is, like, a series / movies kind of thing, but, like, I think Lord of the Rings, even though I don't really like those shows and movies, would be kind of a cool inspiration. I want like a big epic adventure that feels big, something like that. Or maybe Game of Thrones is a good descriptor of it. I'm not sure, but I want like an epic something with unknown actors, you know what I'm saying, that bring these characters to light.
I think that's a good call. And I was thinking Lord of the Rings when you were talking about doing a prequel with all the wars and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked up Avengers Endgame to see what the movie rating is. I mean, they did that PG-13. So who knows? Who knows?
Oh, that's surprising. I didn't know that.
That one also
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That one also had like, I don't know, 15, 20 years of like kids growing up and like parents being okay with like, oh yeah, it's just Spider-Man. You can watch that. Like, I don't know. Yeah. That one kind of had that background to to get the kids to watch it no matter what the rating was.
That's true. Let's see. The other thing I have written here is the music. The music better be like absolutely perfection. They have such a catalog of great, like, orchestral, beautiful music that they need to include in this. And obviously they can put their own twist on it, which is fine. but like they have such an archive that they really need to use. I think that make people really happy. And also, like, I know movies are completely different than video games, but like Breath of the Wild does something really cool where it's like the music changes based on your environment. It'll get fast, it'll get slow, but like seamlessly. And I know movies do that. That's like people's jobs or whatever. But like I feel like they could do something really cool with that in this movie too.
If there's one thing that's not going to be messed up, it is the music.
I hope so. You never know. But I'm interested to see also how involved Nintendo is with this. I feel like they're involved from like the bottom all the way up to the top, like they were at the Mario movie, but I wonder how much creative input they're going to allow the studio. Hopefully not a lot. And hopefully they pick the people that actually love the Zelda series and are gamers and like, you know, have witnessed these stories through decades.
Yeah. Not just watching it on a
see.
VHS tape.
Right. Now I know that's all that they had, you know, but
Yeah.
like they have so much more now. 30 plus years of stuff. So hopefully they use that a little more to their advantage.
Absolutely.
But we'll see. I mean, the Mario movie was done right. That was fun. That was entertaining. Super lots of Easter eggs, super love went into that. So hopefully it's something like that.
Absolutely. I think I would love if like Miyamoto was in it, like a Stan Lee type of cameo. That would be pretty sweet.
That would be incredible. Yeah, they should do that. That's so funny.
All right. I think that's all I have to say.
I agree. We'll see. Actually, the confirmed, and I say confirmed with quotes, is 2020X. So it should be coming out at least in the next 5 years.
Good to know.
Yep.
Okay. So we asked the listeners, what is your favorite video game show adaptation? Are you
sure did.
prepared to answer?
Absolutely. So I asked in Instagram, on Instagram, and More Bros always come through. He said Fallout, and I agree. That show is fantastic. You've watched that one, right?
I did like Fallout quite a bit, yeah.
That one was good. And that one's coming out with a second season, so that'll be exciting. But then we asked the Discord, and when I say we, I mean I asked the Discord. And we got some responses. I'll read a couple, and then you will take the rest. So Craig's Game Room said, definitely Cyberpunk Edge Runners, second favorite anime of all time. Now, I have not watched that yet, and I love anime, and so that one's first certainly on my list.
That's quite the accolade. I know Craig watches a lot of anime.
That is, wow. Yeah. Interesting. And I think it was made by an American studio, obviously. I don't know. Maybe not.
Probably.
Let's see. Next we got Andre says Sonic X, which is one that you watched. Now, is that the one that came out recently, or is that old?
No, when we were kids, it was like on 4Kids. It was one of those shows. It was on the same network as Kirby Right Back at Ya.
Ah, okay.
But that one is...
So it's an oldie.
That one's probably like considered an anime, I guess. But yeah, that was a good show, and it's like it actually continues. It's not just like a one-off episode. It was probably like 5 seasons. It was pretty lengthy.
Oh. And then he follows that up by saying The Last of Us being a second, and I agree with that one. Last of Us is also fantastic.
I like Last of Us
finally,
more than Fallout. I freaking love that show.
Oh, I agree. Fallout is more like funny and like weirdly quirky, whereas The Last of Us, there is like hardly any humor in that show at all. It's like dark, serious, like actual stories. Like if there was a zombie apocalypse, I feel like that would be it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not as light and funny. And then see, the Fleo says Pokemon. Agreed. Pokemon is also fantastic. Now, I have not watched the ones that have come out in the last 10 years, but like the original and even some of the other ones after that, beautiful.
Yep. I didn't even mention it on my list at the beginning of the episode, but I have obviously watched tons and tons of Pokemon.
Absolutely.
Bitsy Link says, honestly, as of right now, it might be Persona 4 the animation. It does an amazing job of adapting the game to a TV series, and it even does some things better than the game.
Oh. But that's a hot take.
It might be. I have no personal experience with Persona.
I have limited experience with Persona.
Dan Evil Robots says Fallout is his, and The Last of Us was second for him. And Now I Rock a Teller Suit says, I remember being fascinated with the Pokemon episodes banned in the US. There was one episode that caused epileptic reactions, one episode where a man points a gun at Ash, and one episode where a giant tentacruel goes ham on some buildings, and after 9/11 they said it stopped airing in the US.
Oh, the first two I heard of. The third one, not so much.
I think that the giant tentacle destroying that building is in the intro of the show.
Oh.
I wonder if
that's
that
not good.
Ever got taken out or anything.
Oh, that's not good.
Thanks for writing in, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun. I guess maybe a lot of people don't watch video game adaptations. I don't know. Wasn't a very popular question.
Yeah. I think that we are about to get flooded with a lot of them in the next 5 to 10 years.
Good. Hopefully they're good ones, though.
Yeah. None of that Borderlands crap.
Oh my god. I totally forgot about that one. Youch.
I can't judge it till I watch it, I suppose. But yeah, that one did poor.
Based on everyone else's judgment, it's not very good.
Hannah, let's talk about some news.
Okay. Do you have some?
Did you hear that Astrobot won Game of the Year?
Oh my god. Yeah, and I watched the whole thing.
I also watched the whole thing. I streamed the whole thing. And you know what's cooler than Astrobot winning Game of the Year? We got Okami sequel coming soon. Or out
That's
soon.
right.
I don't know when.
Yeah, no release date or anything. Literally just a title screen and the orchestra played, and I was like, oh my god. How special of an announcement. I mean, really.
It's pretty sweet. I didn't realize how much I cared until that came out, and I was like, holy crap, I'm hyped for this? ? Like, I don't know. I'm in. I'm going to be buying that and playing it, and I'm pretty sure our Okami episode was this year, dude. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it was March, I think, right?
I don't know, but that is crazy. It's been a long year.
June? Yeah, and it's been a long time since the last one came out.
True.
So that was exciting. What else you got? Is that it?
I mean, we haven't played Astrobot. I think it's cool to see a 3D platformer win in the year 2024 amongst so many other AAA billion-dollar games. Like, I think it's really freaking cool that game won, and I look forward to playing it someday when I have a PS5.
I agree. Also at the Game Awards, Nintendo didn't win Best Family Game, which they've won, I swear, for as long as I've been watching.
Did Astrobot win that?
So, I believe Astrobot won, yeah, which makes sense, as it's the Game of the Year. But yeah, that was interesting. The Game Awards was fine. Obviously, the only thing that I was super excited about was Okami. No super big announcements. Nintendo wasn't there at all. They literally had that pre-roll ad where it's like, yeah, Nintendo's got games, which is a joke that they play every year. They weren't there at all, which was unfortunate. And I don't know if any of their games won, actually.
They won. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, they didn't even win. They didn't even win. Like, Mario Party didn't get like Best Family Game or anything like that. Yeah. We're gonna obviously have a pretty killer year with Nintendo next year, though.
Oh yeah, dude. 3 more months and the Switch 2 will be not released, announced at least.
Yeah, we have. It is not that far away.
I'm excited. They will probably have a January Direct as well, like they normally do, or maybe they'll wait till March. I don't know, or maybe the Switch will be in the January Direct. I don't know. But there's been a bunch of like leaks about like what the actual Switch 2 looks like. Apparently, a lot of the companies that like do cases and stuff for it have released 3D renderings, I guess, of like the Switch 2 in their case. So the bunch of those are out there. I don't know if they're real. Who knows? But it just looks like a Switch, but like a little thinner, a little slicker, a little better design. But I mean, nothing like doesn't have a second screen. It doesn't fold in half. Nothing crazy like that.
Yeah, it should just be more powerful and more of the same, which is fine. I just need a
Fine with
console
me.
that plays Mario and Zelda.
That's right.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm like looking through the news. The Switch has outsold PS2 in the United States. That's exciting.
That is exciting.
The Yu-Gi-Oh thing comes out February 27th, the Early Days collection. I don't know if that was news.
Probably not, but I'm excited for that.
Tetris and Tetris DX added to NSO.
Yep.
Pretty dry. I guess
Tempting.
the most exciting thing, aside from Okami, for the like new trailers and stuff, I was really pumped about the very first trailer. Actually, it was Ninja Gaiden. They're making a new Ninja Gaiden. It's been a long time, so that'll be cool.
I did see that one.
Any other news?
Donkey Kong Land 3 is available on NSO now, along with 3 Genesis titles. I don't know if we read these ones or not, but it came out late last month. Toe Drill, oh my god. Toe Jam and Earl, Jesus, otherwise known as Toe Drill, and Panic on Funkotron. We got Vector Man and Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs. Also, Wave Race, one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games, and Skyward Swords music were added to the Nintendo Music app. That's exciting.
Shout out to the Nintendo Music app.
And that's it. That is all I got for the news. Hopefully next year we'll bring lots and lots and lots of news. But it's been pretty quiet December.
What games are you buying or being gifted, or if you don't have anything, what are you hoping to get gifted for Christmas?
Ooh. I have not bought a single thing. Because I've been obviously buying other people presents. What do I want to be gifted? Ooh, what a question.
It's not so that I can find inspiration for you, because your gifts are already in the mail.
Right. Right, of course. I was going to say, maybe the Zelda CDI games. I mean, come on. I've watched the show, now I got to continue on with those games, right? I don't know. That's a hard question. The only person who gifts me video games is you, so...
Dang, you need better people in your life.
Well, it's hard to buy video games for me because I'll just go out and buy them, and my family doesn't really understand like the whole retro side of things. Like, oh, you got to look at the case, you got to look at the manual, you got to look at the disc, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, I'm just not going to buy it for you because it's not going to be up to your standard. And I said, that's probably fair. Nor do they have a way to test these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if they buy it and they're like, oh, here's the game, but it doesn't work. So they just kind of steer clear.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
As far as been buying, I have not been buying. I have been buying Christmas gifts. I did win an auction for like Gran Turismo 5, which is next to me. It's like $3. Wow. A first party game for the shelf.
Nice.
I did buy in the last few weeks Pokken Tournament on Wii U, because why not? That was also like $5.
Wow, are you going to play it?
Hannah. I actually have that on Switch. I don't know why or how, but I own a loose copy of that on Switch. So if I ever play it, it will be on Switch.
Nice.
And then I was gifted by someone who wants to force me to play this game. I was gifted Elden Ring.
Wow.
So
what a horrible game to be gifted. God, what's wrong with that person?
I did not ask for Elden Ring. I assume I will be forced to stream this game, but shout out to Zach for sending me Elden Ring for Christmas, I guess.
That would be fun. That would be a fun episode to do like a video on, of just like Souls-like games like that.
Yeah, what are you going to play?
Popping off genre. Well, I could play Dark Souls, right? They have those on the Switch.
Hannah, if you ever want to do a Dark Souls episode, that would be a good way to force me to play Dark Souls, because I need that kick in the butt to get through that game.
Okay, we'll write that down.
Yeah, Dark Souls Remastered is on Switch for sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
We could play that co-op if I got it on Switch. Then it would be less painful.
You can play that game co-op?
You can.
Well, of course we have to play that now.
All right. that's it for me for like buying stuff. And is there anything I'm hoping to get for Christmas? I low key really would love to see someone get me Zelda because I'm gonna buy
Hmm.
that and play that. But if I don't have to buy it, that's cool. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. You know, I don't ask people to get me retro stuff. I have a few friends that like do know how to work an eBay account and are young, and you know they could buy me something for the GameCube set. That would be awesome. But for the most
Hmm.
part, I'm just like, here's a few Switch games I would like to play. You know, feel free. I don't even ask for mini games for Christmas anymore, just because I know how it is.
Unless they're like new games, it's hard for me to tell people I want things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it.
What have you been playing this month and last month?
So, Ys 10 Nordics, of course. I think I put
Excellent.
only a couple more hours into it because I've been super busy. But like me and my friend have been playing. Me and my roommate have been playing Mario Kart every night for the past couple days. Online is
Ooh,
fucking brutal.
that's
It
fun.
is crazy. It is like I think I'm fairly good at Mario Kart. I've only been playing since I was like 4 years old, but like I suck, dude. Like I'm getting like consistently like maybe third, but like sixth place, eighth place, ninth place. I got 12th place the other night. It's like it is absolutely brutal. It is. I mean, it's so much fun, but you're like, God, man, I suck.
Yeah, I've been humbled for sure. I am not great at Mario Kart, but it's always a good time.
I think I've only the highest I've gotten, and we've played maybe I don't know 20, 30 rounds is third place, and that feels like a great accomplishment.
That's
But usually
crazy.
it's like fifth, sixth, seventh. I know, and it's probably also because they came out with that huge expansion pass. This is just me explaining away why I'm shit, but like they have all these new courses that I've never played before, so like people have the upper hand on us. But it's crazy. There's like because everyone seems to fall into like a similar kind of skill. So if you're in like fifth place and you get hit with a shell, you're absolutely gonna be in last place because those people are right behind you. It's crazy. It's still fun though. It's very enjoyable. Even if you do suck, it's still fun.
That's it though. You just been playing a little Mario Kart.
Yeah, a little Mario Kart, little geese here and there. That's it.
I talked about wanting to get Balatro. Well, let me tell you, I got Balatro,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it on my phone, and it was the
Mm.
best decision I've ever made, Hannah. This game is so freaking good. It is so fun.
Did you pay for it or is it free on your phone?
It's $10.
Wow.
I know. I play Pokemon Go, and now I play Balatro on my phone. So this game, I mean, have you seen gameplay or anything?
But it's cards. It's based on cards, right? It's like a card variation.
It's like a poker variation. I'm not like some freaking poker guy. I know the basics. Um, this crap is so addicting. It's I don't know if it's a rogue like or a rogue light or whatever that crap is. I know we did a whole genres episode, but I don't know what the heck it is. But essentially, you try to get through 8 rounds of like getting through. You have to meet a certain goal every hand of poker you're dealt, and it's it's incredibly addicting. But I have not won yet. I've been playing for a week or two. It's only been a week, but like having it on my phone is dangerous. Like I can just be sitting there for hours, not hours, but at least an hour. Just like it doesn't matter where I'm at. It's the perfect game to have on your phone. If like, oh, I'm stuck behind a train. The other day I was literally stuck behind a train. I was like, F it, I got Balatro on my phone. I'm happy. um, I was at the freaking optometrist and I had to sit in the waiting room. I was like, who cares? I got Balatro. Like, it is so good and it is so fun and it deserves whatever awards it was given at the game of the year, and I would recommend it to anybody for sure. It's so much fun.
Hmm. Do you play with other people online? Do you play against like bots and stuff?
No, it is a single player game.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
They
Okay.
say it's like poker crossed with solitaire. There's no solitaire aspect to it except that you're playing by yourself. I think that's why
Oh,
they say
okay.
that.
I'd say solitaire's boring.
Um,
Hmm.
that's it. I'm playing a lot of Call of Duty, and it's taken a lot of my free time. But I finished Final Fantasy VII on Thanksgiving Day. I was very thankful that day.
Wow. That's crazy.
Great game, great story. Not for me, but it was a great game.
So you gonna play any other Final Fantasy or no?
I will play Final Fantasy VI. It's on the Super Nintendo. Also an iconic game that is apparently just one of the best things that the world has ever seen. I would love to play that. In America, it was Final Fantasy III. And then, like, I'm gonna play the 7 remake. I know I've told you that before. Like, that's something that is... Those games look great. I would love to experience those. And they have, like, a new take on the story, which seems cool.
Now, is 7 super story-based? Like, would I enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, dude. I think you should play it, for sure.
It's on the Switch?
It is.
Nice.
And
yeah, we'll see.
You can also, like, when you buy any of these modern ports of it, like on the Switch or whatever, like, you can turn on, like, speed up. And so, like, you can grind super fast, turn it on 3x speed or whatever. You can, like, obviously move faster because you got the 3x speed. Like, there's just a lot of modern advantages to playing it these days. The game is known for, like, these insanely long cutscenes during the battles. So they're called summons. You will summon a monster and have it do your bidding for a minute. It's turn-based, and like, literally, some of these summons, you're sitting there watching a cutscene for over 60 seconds. So that's where the 3x speed up is really helpful. I played it on the OG hardware, and it took forever.
That's why it's so long. Gotta watch all these summons.
Great game, though. Everybody should play it. The story was good. Very good.
You're selling me. Almost.
I shouldn't have to sell you on Final Fantasy VII. It has been sold to everyone for decades.
I know, but it's turn-based. I just played a big turn-based.
I think that's it for episode 57, Hannah.
Heck yeah, dude. How do you feel? Last episode of the year.
I feel good. I feel excited. This is technically the first episode of the 6th year of this show.
Oh, you're right. Oh, interesting.
I don't know when this is coming out.
It's a show about a show.
Merry Christmas to our lovely listeners. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Be safe. Get lots of presents. Hope you get a lot of games. Hope you get a lot of time to play said games. Spend time with family. All of the fun things. And I guess we'll see you next year.
Adios.